Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's a lot to report. It's a lot of NBA news trickling in all at once. I'm pretty sure while I'm talking, more will come in because it seems like that's just what's happening. So let's try to see what we can do here. First of all, let's get the free agents out the way, and then we'll announce a trade that just took place. Robin Lopez is going to the Cavs for 1 year. Nice addition to the team. I think at the end of the day, he's just bolstering their front court, obviously providing more size on top of size on top of size. Look out for the Cavs to be a serious playoff contender this year. Of course, we got to give congratulations to Zach LaVine, who signed 215.2 with the Bulls for 5 years. So he locks up, gets maxed out, and is set. I like the contract for him. I hate the contract for the Bulls. We've already talked about that. I just don't think he fits on the team as much as people think he does. But at the same time, it's not like that contract is horrible because he's Zach LaVine and he can score as much as anybody very, very often so long as he's healthy. We know his athleticism is going to be excellent in the front court. He's going to do a lot of good things for the Bulls if given all the minutes and all the opportunity to be a star. So that's awesome to see him get that money too. The Celtics and Danilo Gallinari have agreed to a 2-year deal, 13 mil. I think that's a little steep for what I expect Gallo to do, to be honest with you. But for what the Celtics are and their aspirations, I love the acquisition. He's a big body who can stretch the floor. He's going to be a good substitution for a guy like Jason Tatum. It's in spurts. He can stay with the big lineup type of rotation that they currently have, and he's just going to slip right in. I think he's a good fit for the Boston Celtics, and he's a booster to their bench that I think could be very, very helpful. Obviously, they had issues scoring the ball. He's somebody that they can rely upon to get them buckets. He's going to focus on that side of the ball, and I think having someone designated for that for the Celtics was a need. So I like it. I like it a lot. Their efficiency, shooting, free throw shooting, all of these different things that they kind of had issues with shooting the three. Gallo should help improve that if given the right amount of minutes. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Now let's see. We got Nurkic is going to be resigning with the Blazers, 4 years, $70 million, 17 a year for Nurkic. When he misses as much time as he does, I can't say I'm in love with that for the Blazers. I think there's better ways of utilizing that cap space. This is how bad teams stay bad, Blazers. This is how. I hate to say it, and I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I'm happy to see him lock up for that amount and those years. That's excellent for him and where he's at in his career. But he don't do enough for me to get him 17 a year. Absolutely not. And I think that could potentially be difficult to move as well because of it, because everybody else knows that too. So, yeah, you just signed up for a bad contract there, Blazers. I think most people already see that today. All right, so let's see. What else do we have? John Wall is headed to the Clippers. 2 years, $13 million. Very affordable. Like I said, John Wall is in a place in his career where his value isn't as high as he's used to it being because he's been out for 3 years. But he's going to go to the Clippers, play a very important role, and I think he's going to maximize every opportunity to just do what it is that he does. They need him to be John Wall. So this is going to be an excellent situation here. He's going to outplay that contract if he's able to stay healthy. And of course, we always have questions about his health. That's just going to be the thing. But my question is what speed is he still at? Does he still have that superhuman light speed that he once did? And if so, that can make the Clippers impossible, nearly impossible if everybody's healthy. But if he's a couple steps slow, or if the game isn't there anymore, it could be a situation where they're still searching for what it is that they need at the point. But all in all, this contract is fine. You definitely expect John Wall to outplay it because he's that good of a player when healthy. And it's not too crazy as to which if he gets hurt, you're looking at it like, oh my God, he's weighing us down. Nah, it's a good contract. I think the Clippers have probably done the best job of any team I've seen in signing affordable contracts this offseason. They're just finding deals, and this is yet another one in my mind. All right, so now let's announce a trade. I don't think there was anything else on here. Let me make sure in the free agent vein, nah, there's nothing else. Oh, yes, there is. Bol is going to be resigning with the Orlando Magic for 2 years. Don't know the dollars on that. But I think that's a great pickup when you consider they just re-signed Mo Bamba. Obviously, they're bringing in Paolo. This is going to be a lot of size, a lot of length to deal with. And of course, understanding that Paolo's not a defensive player, you understand that they are the right team to have him because they have nothing but defensive, lengthy talent surrounding him. So the Orlando Magic are going to make a massive jump at some point. If it isn't this year, it's next year. If it isn't the next year, it's going to be the following year, because you can't inherit the type of offensive talent that Paolo is and then consider all of the defensive talent that they already have. You know, that's what's intriguing to me about the Orlando Magic, is they are one of those teams like OKC, like the Rockets, like Detroit, that I just say the core is looking great there, and they just need to let it hatch, keep it together. So now let's announce this trade that we have here, because this one is pretty interesting to me. We got Kevin Huerter, who's going to be headed to the Sacramento Kings for Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, and 2024 first-round pick that is expected to be a lottery-protected pick, I believe. So I like the acquisition a lot for the Sacramento Kings. Bringing him in for basketball reasons is excellent, especially when you consider the shot-making ability of a Malik Monk. Now what they have is De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell with the ability to get the ball to weapons that are very efficient. Now the problem is all of those weapons are guards, so it's going to be kind of hard to have them all on the floor at the same time and have any success defensively, because they're all too small in that regard to really get the most out of them at once. That's an extremely small lineup. But that is a very strong lineup, especially when you consider the lottery pick that you just picked up. The big fella Murray, if I'm not mistaken. His name is Keegan Murray. Yes, and he is very talented, man. Keegan Murray is extremely talented. So when you add Kevin Huerter to that situation, Malik Monk to that situation, and you consider they already have Fox, and as I said, Mitchell, Sabonis, I'm going to say that the Sacramento Kings have a legitimate basketball team right now. Now, I don't know if that's going to translate to them being good enough to do anything in the West, because honestly, I don't believe it will. But they now have a lineup that is not easy to beat. You're going to come in there and you're going to get beat. That's what I'm telling you. The Sacramento Kings are a team that looks as strong as any of the teams that are in that average lane in the Western Conference. That's what I'll say. Yeah, it's one of those situations, as I said in one of these videos that I made recently. The Western Conference last year was an anomaly, because you got the guys of thinking that the Western Conference was weak, because a lot of the big names went out east, and a lot of the teams that, you know, were in position to not look good were just in flux. They had yet to receive some of the talent that they just got in this draft right now, or the draft that they just had the year before. So some of the teams that you think suck, they just got a lot better. Sacramento's one of them. So even though the Spurs are now out of the mix, maybe you expect Utah to blow things up. But now you got to look at Portland and see them as a viable team again. You're looking at the Timberwolves differently. You're looking at New Orleans differently. You're looking at the Clippers as a viable team to come back. So, like teams like Dallas, who lost a big piece, their second guy, I don't know if Dallas is even going to be a playoff team this year. I kid you not, because when you consider they lost their second, Jalen Brunson, and then you're bringing in entirely different dynamic with Wood and McGee. Listen, you're changing your team dynamic. You're not a small ball, switch everything type of team. Now you have a little more big men to kind of work into your offense. I'm not sure that team is going to be able to usurp the improvement of, say, of Sacramento Kings, or an improvement of a Portland Trailblazers, or if the Lakers put together something crazy. The Suns are in trouble, depending on if they're able to get KD or not. Ayton goes out. I think they're in trouble. And this is one of the situations where I look at the Sacramento Kings and I say, this is a team with the lineup that I just explained to you. They could overachieve. with some of that shot making and the big playability of Sabonis and Fox, and the jump that Mitchell could potentially make, the fact that he's a lockdown defender, and then they bring in this Keegan Murray kid who's everywhere all the time, and he's big and long and poised and smart. Like, I just wish they would have kept Halliburton. If Halliburton was a part of this, I would be looking at the Sacramento Kings as a legitimate team to make the playoffs and maybe even make noise. Like, he's what's missing right here. But I'm telling you, Kevin Huerter coming into this situation, I know what he can do. And he slips in seamlessly because he's not somebody who's going to demand too much. He's going to do a lot of what he does on the sideline, sort of like Mikal Bridges, but in a different way. Like, he could be your third and fourth guy and still make a massive impact on your team. And I think what he was missing was a bigger role in Atlanta because they had a logjam in his position. I think if you can slip him into the 3 effectively and slide him up and down between the 2 and the 3, you can put him in position to succeed. But they have so much depth to likely he'll be their first guy off the bench. Good thing is, because they have that depth, that'll be a very good lineup. So you got to be careful. Be careful with the Sacramento Kings. I'm going to be paying attention to see what other moves they make. I got to look at their front court situation, gauge that a little better after Sabonis and Rashawn Holmes. Yeah, that's who it is. And he's had injury issues, but I know he can be a big player. Just don't know where he's at with his conditioning. Not sure where he's at. But I know they paid him last year, so that's who they're going to be relying upon with Sabonis. But I love the fact that they added so much shooting. They really, really added efficient shooting. Huerter and Monk, those are game changers for Sacramento, y'all. Game changers. Now, let's look at Atlanta, because I think here it's kind of hard for me to gauge because I didn't look at the amount of the salaries. But I'm guessing it's a salary situation. I don't think they felt they could pay Kevin Huerter. They are also obviously bringing in DeJounte Murray, so the minutes won't necessarily be there. They got a different dynamic on their team. So you bring in DeJounte Murray, it's even less minutes for Huerter. You got to send him out. So I think it's the right move in that regard. Bringing in Justin Holiday, I look at him as an interchangeable. They got a lot defensively here. Justin Holiday and Mo Harkless, you look at as guys who are going to make their money on the other side of the basketball floor. So that's what I see here. The Atlanta Hawks just bulking down on defense. And of course, obviously the meat and potatoes of the situation is the first round pick that they were able to acquire for Kevin Huerter, which makes this a risky Sacramento Kings type of move. After everything I just said, and I like Kevin Huerter the piece clearly, I can't say I'm willing to throw in the first round pick that's projected to be a lottery pick on top of the other 2 contracts, which may be a salary dump, to acquire him. I don't think so. Because even though I look at him as a piece that's already developed, maybe I don't want to bring in another kid if I'm Sacramento, I still do believe that a lottery pick may be worth more than what it is that you received here in Kevin Huerter on top of the 2 contracts here that made it work, which are players that I could argue you may not get a whole lot out of if you're Atlanta. And Justin Holiday and Mo Harkless, they may not necessarily be the guys that give you a whole lot this year. So it's the first round pick that you love, obviously, in the situation. That's what it is you traded him for, and you're very happy that you got that. And so Kevin Huerter, in my mind, for the Sacramento Kings, it's like you better use him right. You know what I mean? Put him in a position to succeed. Obviously, you got the role for him. You guys are winning. That's what it's about. It's a win now situation. Sabonis' mentality is win now. Fox has been paid. It's win now. You're bringing in the Keegan kid. He's the oldest rookie. It's taken in the lottery in a while. Win now. So I expect Sacramento to go after it. And as a matter of fact, if they're thinking clearly, they still got more moves to make. There's still more moves to make. You got to improve Rashawn Holmes in that situation, in my opinion. Respectfully, I like him, but he's not as reliable as you need him to be win now. So, you're putting Mike Brown in a situation I don't disagree with. I like the team that you're giving Mike because he's a defensive coach. You know what I mean? And I see Davion Mitchell as a guy he could really hang his hat on. Keegan Murray's going to play defense as well. So I like where they're going. Fox, we know he excelled defensively in college. So, it's a return to defense. And if I know Mike Brown's system, it's right on time for what it is that Domantas Sabonis is about, because he's going to want to play in that half court. You know what I mean? He's going to want to play in that half court. Now, the good thing is you got Keegan Murray he's going to also create opportunities for Fox and those guys to get in the fast break with his defensive ability. He forces steals, if my memory serves me correct. That's one of his best attributes. So he's going to trigger fast breaks in situations. So I really like what Sacramento can put together. If Mike Brown can, take what he's gotten from Golden State and show a great deal of improvement from when he was with the Lakers and Cavaliers. It's been many years, I'd like to see that think he's improved and has more going for him offensively. Because that was my critique of him when he was a Laker coach. We had kind of a stiff lineup the years he was here, not a whole lot of wiggly talent, not a whole lot going on. And because of it, our half-court offense was really stagnant. And it was just a really tough basketball team to watch with him coaching that roster. But this ain't that type of roster at all. As a matter of fact, he has a lot of players that can move, take shots and make shots. And so as I look at that situation, I say, I remember the clean team that he was coaching in Cleveland. And if they would have had more wiggly talent, obviously they had LeBron James, but if he would have had more athleticism surrounding him, maybe that team could have played at a faster pace as well. And you would have seen more out of what Mike Brown would provide in some of the simulations that LeBron James was able to give you alone back in those days. And Mo Williams and those guys who played well. Mo Williams was an all-star under Mike. So I harken back to that rather than harkening back to the Lakers situation where the roster wasn't good. And I just didn't like that whole mess. Kobe was in a situation where, he didn't have a lot of teammates. So it wasn't fun that year, or those years. I think it was more than one. But all in all, I like what the Sacramento Kings have given him. I don't like the path they've taken to get him this team, because you should never trade Halliburton in any situation ever. But given the fact that Sabonis is in place, and I do really like Sabonis, I think it's a good team to work with if you're these guys. Davion Mitchell is the truth. That's going to be one of the best on-ball defenders out there. So that right there gives me some understanding that him at a rookie contract, Keegan Murray at a rookie contract, if Sacramento doesn't make the playoffs this year, you best believe they're making the playoffs the year after that, if they can keep this core together and continue to retool properly. Because this is a good roster. Probably the best roster they've had in a long time, man. I'm serious. Long time. Got to see what happens with Harrison Barnes, if they can keep him on tab or trade him for something that makes more sense. I like him helping Keegan Murray. Those two players are comparable. You keep them on the floor together, them big bodies. That is a good situation with Sabonis. They can be ridiculously devastating defensively with Davion Mitchell. I'm telling you, Sacramento's growing on me as I think about it. This is not bad. Now, I got to see what's going on their bench. I don't have their entire roster in my head. I don't know who their other picks are and all that stuff. But the crux of what I see, those players, they're good. They are good, and they should work well together if given a good system. A lot of optimism in Sacramento. Kind of feel about them the way I felt about Timberwolves to start the season last year. Nobody was really looking, and the Cavaliers for that matter, nobody was really looking at them. And there's certainly reason to doubt, but I think they've turned a corner in terms of talent. Now, whether they're going to put it together or do something stupid, you can expect they will. It's Sacramento. But for now, if they don't do nothing else wrong, they got something good to work with for the next couple years. Finally. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.